Hello and welcome to an all-new DC cast, Explosion Network's hub for discussing all things DC Comics related, a place to talk about everything happening in Metropolis, Gotham, and beyond. My name is Ashley Hobley, and joining me is Dylan Blight.
Happy to be here talking about the right side of comic freedom, man.
Yes, this is the debut episode of our new DC dedicated, DCU, I guess, dedicated podcast, where we'll be talking about all future DC film and TV projects under the James Gunn era. But today we'll be kicking off a Superman rewatch. We will be revisiting all the Superman films and also TV shows, starting with Superman the movie from with Christopher Reeve. We're not going to go back and watch the serials, just because I don't know how we'd find them. Probably YouTube. That would have been possible, but not playing that much. Obviously, we've been doing a Marvel podcast or MCU podcast for several years, but I think it's fair to say we're both actually more on the DC side originally, right?
All I have up in my house are Batman posters, so yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I grew up on the Batman films and that kind of stuff before, you know. I've also mostly got DC comics. I mean, you're wearing, if her audio listeners, Dylan's wearing a Court of Owls mask. I've got one of those somewhere around my house somewhere. You know, so.
That was within reach, you know. I don't have props like that within reach for Marvel, you know.
Yeah. What would you even have? A shield? Hammer? No. Not feasible. Okay, question without notice before we start.
That was harder to hang up than it was to get down.
Dylan, what are your top 3 DC characters?
Batgirl, Batman. I'm trying to think of a non-Bat universe. Hold on, you do. Let me just pick someone who's not from the Bat universe. I can't. It's too hard.
You can't think of a third.
No, I refuse to. I'm gonna think of someone. You need to give me time. You sprung a hard question. The first 2 were easy, but you've just sprung it, and yeah, you haven't given me time to prep. I'm still thinking. We may be here all night. It's fine. You thought this was a bit, but I can't. You know what? Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. I clarify just because, you know.
Yep.
Batman. Beast Boy.
Ooh.
That was worth the
With the wait? I mean, mine are Batman, Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson in his many iterations, and then might be Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, just because of when I got into comics and that kind of thing. So it's a big deal. So I think I'm going to have to introduce a week question without notice each week, just because DC question without notice. This is fun. But let's get into what we're here for, talking about Superman the movie. So please be aware we're really discussing anything and everything about plot themes in any of the movie. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. It's playing on Max here in Australia. Great service. Not sponsored. With that said, let's jump to discussing Superman, the movie.
How'd you like your first day on the job?
Easy, miss. I've got you. On the whole, I'd say it's been swell.
Swell?
To commit the crime of the century, a man will just naturally want to face the challenge of the century. for the opportunity of destroying everything that he represents.
Otis, take the gentleman's cape. I don't think he wants me to, Mr. Luthor.
Is that how a warped brain like yours gets its kicks? By planning the death of innocent people?
No. By causing the death of innocent people. Bye-bye, California.
You were great in your day, Superman. But it just stands to reason that when it came time to cash in your chips, Solvent, the diseased maniac, would be your banker.
The problem with Men of Steel, there's never one around when you want one.
I'm sorry about that, Lois. But I've been kind of busy for a while.
First released December 15th, 1978. Directed by Richard Donner. Screenplay by Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, Robert Benton. Story by Mario Puzo. Based on Superman by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Starring Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, Jeff East, Margot Kidder, Glenn Ford, Phyllis Thaxter, Jackie Cooper, Trevor Howard, Marc McClure, Terence Stamp, Valerie Perrine, Ned Beatty, Jack O'Halloran, Maria Schell, and Sarah Douglas. Scientist Jor-El rockets his infant son Kal to safety on Earth. Kal is raised on as Clark Kent and develops unusual abilities and powers to become Superman, who fights for truth and justice. Dylan, when did you first watch Superman 1978? And what are your thoughts?
Probably 12-ish. Would have been a VHS. Probably between 10 and 12 would have been the first time I watched it, VHS. It used to be on TV a lot growing up, so I used to watch it a lot in bits. I definitely remember I've watched like the start of the movie a lot, then got told it was too late and it was a school night and had to go to bed, or they catch the end of it and stuff. Like I've seen this movie a lot through my childhood in at least a lot of times parts and stuff. But yeah, went through all the VHSs of them, all four of them, when I was younger. And do you want my thoughts on it now? Or was it,
I'll jump in and say that I didn't watch this until I was much older.
Okay.
I don't think I watched this until I was in uni. I think I ended up, once I got into comics and started watching, reading Superman, then I think I went back and read these, or I've at least watched these first two of the Christopher Reeve comics or movies.
Never seen the next?
No, I haven't watched 3 or 4.
Man,
so we're in for a treat.
Lucky you.
Going forward, just because obviously Christopher Reeves is like a lot of Gary Frank did his version of Superman was very much based on the look of Christopher Reeve, and there was the run where Richard Donner came back and helped on a run of Superman.
I have a picture my nan when I was younger dressed me up like Christopher Reeve Superman, made me a little costume and everything.
So yeah, I don't know why I didn't watch them as a kid. It's just happenstance. As a kid, it was the Lois and Clark TV show that was my Superman, and then Smallville later. So
I would have I went straight from this to Smallville. Like I didn't watch. No one in my family watched anything. Like everyone in my family, including my Nan and Pop, as I just mentioned, Superman, great. And they wouldn't know anything about comic books, but they, for some reason, this movie or the first two were like everyone loved that in my larger family for some whatever reason. That it was a movie everyone could get around the couch and watch. Never watched any of the Lois and Clark stuff on TV. Never watched any of that. And then I started watching obviously Smallville when that started airing, but I was a teenager by that point. So
yep. All right, what are your thoughts on Superman the movie?
Yeah, look, I got rose tinted glasses, whatever. As I said, I've watched this movie a lot. I can watch it very easily. I know exactly how it plays out. There's no, it's just a very comfortable, easy movie for me to watch. To be completely honest, I think Christopher Reeve is, when I picture Superman, I picture Christopher Reeve. I don't picture anyone else. He is the classic Superman to me. The classic Superman look is, I'm picturing him. And I know you mentioned the serials and stuff, and obviously Reeve he watched those and he's talked about those in interviews and stuff like that. But yeah, for a lot of people, myself included, it's like he is the classic Superman. He is the chemistry between Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve is sort of the best part of the movie. Second to, well, and then I'd put second just Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, which I actually really like. Just that more fun, zany, and the relationship he has, especially with Ned Beatty's. I can't remember his character's name, but Mr. Luthor, like that. That's a lot of fun. And just I appreciate like almost the simplicity of the movie in that it doesn't try to. You can tell that Mario Puzo, which is crazy. It's like, hey, the guy who wrote the Godfather books. Yeah. Like they just treat Superman like he's Jesus. Like they very much take the approach of what if a god came to Earth mentality. But they don't try and take that any deeper. Like how would humans react? They're just like, what if a god came down and like that was good? Like that's sort of the mentality that's taken to the movie. The only thing that annoys me, has always annoyed me about this movie, is there's a part when Superman's like struggling to catch a missile and he can't speed up, but then suddenly he can go super fast to rewind time. Like that, just like the little inconsistency there annoys me, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to appreciate this movie came out in 1978, and it's like, obviously, my interpretation of Superman is very different to the one shown here.
If you first time you watch this, what'd you say when he was in college?
Yeah,
you're not going to have the rose tinted glasses on this. Yeah,
no, and like obviously, a lot of modern comics has changed Superman and all the characters around him greatly. I mean, like Luthor is very different in everything compared to this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy it for what it is. I think Christopher Reeve is fantastic, and like he's like, you call him a cheesy character, but he's still very playful, and
I tell you what, that scene where Margaret Kidder goes into the cupboard and he Christopher Reeve like straightens up his body. That to me is acting. Like that is a.
I mean, that's that. He straightens up and goes into Superman pose, and then goes back down and becomes Clark Kent. Changes his voice. All these kind of little things, like the dual role of Clark Kent and Superman is super impressive. Like the bumbliness of Clark Kent is so enjoyable to watch. It is hopefully something they pick up in the new film. But the chemistry between Superman and Margot and Lois Lane, you can tell they want to fuck. Like she's like, "What color are my underpants?" It's like that's pretty risque, I would imagine, for 1978. With this meant to be like a family-friendly movie. Like,
do all your parts work?
Yeah. Like, what a line of questioning, And in my mind, Superman would be too modest to do, check what color her underpants are. But
no, he's flirting.
No, he's flirting hard.
Well, the thing is that it's very obvious that he likes her. Like, and they don't try and lie about that. They're just like, it's this weird relationship that he's trying to build. Like, he's trying to like get with her as Clark, but then.
Yeah, absolutely. First thing I noticed rewatching this is like Christopher Reeve is not top billed.
No, because he was nobody at the time.
That's true, but still, the lead of the film you would put as the head person nowadays. Back in then, but Marlon Brando for his like 20 minutes of work. Gene Hackman get top billing.
Marlon Brando also reportedly very hard to work with and refused to learn his lines. And I think there's if you watch behind this, like one documentaries about the Superman movies in a whole. I don't know if they have any of this in that last one. I haven't watched the Christopher Reeve Superman thing, but probably not. But there's a big making of Superman movie that covers just like how, like in the scene at the start of the movie where he's like monologuing about Kal-El, he's just reading the lines off a piece of paper like in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think for the most part, like special effects are done reasonably well. I think we'll get into bits and pieces of like the plot that don't make a ton of sense, or like stuff that doesn't quite work nowadays. But yeah, I think it's a fun movie. I'm looking forward to watching more of them. Maybe, I don't know. Obviously, they've got a bad rep, but we'll see.
2's fine. It's just 3 and 4 where we go.
2's fine. Yes. Let's just
Yeah,
run through the plot.
let's start this movie where it sets up the sequel.
Yes. So on planet Krypton, I'm reading from Wikipedia. On planet Krypton, Jor-El, a member of the Kryptonian High Council, sentences criminals General Zod, Non, and Ursa to the Phantom Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. That's where you start. I guess they hoped that this will spawn a sequel, or
yeah. So I know,
especially when you got Terence Stamp as like one of the
So they were filming 1 and 2 at the same time. Yeah, so this is where I know I've like said it before, and I know we're not going to watch it, but this is how we end up with the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, which I do really like, even though it's got a lot of problems because it's a scraped together mess. But they were filming both, and Donner had filmed 70% of Superman 2 before he's fired. And then that's why we have this scene. Like it was always planned to
ahead of its time.
Kind of, yeah.
He warns the council that Krypton will be destroyed by its exploding red supergiant sun, but they dismiss his concerns. Before the planet's destruction, Jor-El and his wife Lara send their baby son Kal-El to Earth, where his unique physiology grants him evolving superhuman powers. All the Krypton stuff in this is quite cool with like the unknown, like how would you describe it? Like the lighting or the
they have like it's like it's very 70s to be like aliens are wearing these jumpsuits because the amount of 70s 60s 70s old school like alien stuff, it's like always just one colored weird jumpsuits and stuff like that, but I think it's cool, and like the earthquake through to the planet exploding scene is,
but even like the color grading, and that's like
they make it look
high contrast whites and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's a interesting choice to make sure it stands out and looks different to Earth.
Kal-El's spaceship touches down near Smallville, Kansas, found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who are astounded when the infant lifts their truck. They adopt him, naming him Clark. As he grows, hiding his powers, Jonathan learns Clark was sent to Earth for a special purpose, or believes Clark was sent to Earth for a special purpose. Soon after Jonathan's fatal heart attack, a glowing green crystal from his spaceship that is hidden in the barn calls to Clark. This whole growing up teenager section.
Did you realize, or did you know, that it's all dubbed by Christopher Reeve?
What?
The dude playing him as young Clark Kent, there's an actor playing him, but Christopher Reeve dubs old lines.
I did not. That's nuts.
Yeah.
So unnecessary.
Yeah.
So incredibly unnecessary, but whatever.
That scene where he runs against the train with that kid, that's always very funny to me, even as a kid.
Like, come on. The whole train a bunch of people could see.
Again, struggles outrun that train and make that jump. Struggles to catch the missile. Rewinds time later. Nonetheless, but it's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll get to it. You know. And then classic moment in Superman story: his father has a heart attack. You know. But yeah, he leaves Smallville, and this glowing light crystal leads him to the Arctic, where a fortress of solitude echoing Krypton's architecture ascends from the ice. I will say, weird choice to have a glowing green crystal when we know there's another green thing that is bad for him. Just, use some different colors.
Also, this film's just like, here's the Fortress of Solitude. We're going to show you nothing.
Yeah.
Let's just skip ahead 20 years.
Yeah. Inside, Jor-El's hologram reveals Clark's heritage and trains him for 12 years. Emerging in a blue and red suit, bearing the crest of House of L, he is cautioned against changing humanity's history. And after disappearing for 12 years, apparently he is hired as a reporter for the Daily Planet Metropolis because he can type really fast.
Fair.
That's his one skill set. No college education. He's drawn to Lois Lane, who, of course, is one of the top reporters there, but has trouble
Can't
spelling.
spell, though. Yep.
Great. Like, have a dictionary handy.
I like it, though. It shows that, it's not about
It's not perfect.
It's not about your grammar and spelling errors to be a top reporter. It's about,
That's why she's fine in modern day where autocorrect is a thing. After saving her from a helicopter accident, Clark secretly uses his powers in public acts of heroism, gaining immediate fame as the Cape to Wonder. Jumping over a lot. Obviously, we get a bunch of Clark bumbling him.
They're
They
nearly robbed.
They get robbed. They should have gotten shot. Does he look at the camera when he's picking the bullet out of his hand? I'm pretty sure.
No, never. He looks at the bullet and then looks back up at her as I take it and then chucks it on the ground.
Okay. It feels like
it's a funny bit.
This newspaper has a helicopter that can take Lois places.
Yeah.
This was the height of news media.
Yeah.
Rough nowadays. But yeah, obviously the helicopter sequence, infamous. The line,
good.
"I've got you." Yeah, but who's got you? Really good. And then yes, Superman goes around. Also Superman coming out of the phone booth for the first time, and a random black dude's like, "Hey, cool, Stu."
Well, no, he walks past the phone booth, looks at it, shakes his head, and then he goes and changes in the hotel thing. But they do a nod to the classic Superman phone booth thing. Where
That's true. Yeah,
Reeve looks at it and goes, "No," and keeps going.
Probably. And yes, then he spends the rest of the day doing superhero-y things. Why he didn't do it as soon as he came to Metropolis, I don't know.
I know. I mean, at this point, you're not really sure of the timeline. I feel like he's just got to Metropolis, maybe 24 hours for all we know. Who knows?
Maybe. Perry White, the Daily Planet's chief, seeks more information on this hero. In costume, Clark later visits Lois, taking her on a flight, leading her to coin his name, Superman.
It's just 15 minutes of horniness, really, is what it is. So,
yeah, yeah.
But again, as we were saying before, their chemistry is
what really holds us together and makes it work. And all the talk about Peter Pan and make it. I don't fly with children.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, only real women. Yeah, nearly drops her. Romantic.
That's her fault
But also, she agreed to a date with Clark on the same night that she already had arranged an interview with Superman.
Typical women, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You don't know how long that interview was going to be. Clark could have been waiting downstairs for ages.
Yeah, he was.
Criminal mastermind Lex Luthor discovers a U.S. Army, U.S. Navy missile test and plots to target the San Andreas fault with reprogrammed missiles, though one is misdirected by his bumbling assistant, Otis. Suspecting Superman's interference, Lex identifies a Kryptonian meteorite lethal to Superman.
So all
Lots
the stuff,
leaps of logic here.
Yeah, so all the stuff with Lex early in the movie, they have a couple quick scenes with him and introduce his character, but obviously the biggest scene we get is the one where they're trying to reprogram the missiles, which is the idea that you can just hop in and put some coordinates and then zip them back up, and it's not checked when they get there or anything like that. Is absolutely wild, but it does make for a fun scene, I think, especially when they're first. Also, the fact that they pretend to be paramedics, whatever, and all this sort of stuff. They then apparently can race down the road, switch to a truck with a house, carrying a house, then come back, and no one recognizes them either. They're just like, "Oh, this is crazy. You weren't just the dude in the
I do
also all the army dudes who were like, I want to give it mouth to mouth to this hot chick who's maybe dead."
I also love that he's got a secret under subway lair. Pretty cool.
And they can control the door.
They killed the detective.
Yeah, he run over completely, 100%. Yeah.
I mean, pushing him was unnecessary. He could have just let the train scrape across him.
No, want him dead.
Want him dead. And good old Otis. What a bumbling fool.
He's very fun this movie. No Beatty. So.
With Otis and his girlfriend Eve Testmencher, Lex retrieves it and traps Superman in his lair, revealing his plan to sink the western US, making his desert land prime coastline. What a crazy plan. But also very smart. He weakens Superman using the meteorite known as kryptonite and informs him of the misdirected missile set for Hackensack, New Jersey.
Hold on, just another like jumper logic that is quite fun, but you're supposed to just believe it because Lex is the smartest man alive. Just when he's like flicking through, and he's like, if we apply that if we to say everything that he's saying in this interview is true, and he came from another planet, and he's saying it's 18 years ago or whatever he says, and we're implying that that's in real time, then if we go back and I have this random book that just so happens to have every time a meteorite's landed on our planet, and I go to the exact year, then there'll be a meteorite, and I know that meteorite will be able to affect his
like giant leap, no testing, no practice, big leap of faith.
Yeah,
because if it went wrong, didn't work.
It's very fast. It's always like in every other version of Superman, like someone accidentally discovers that it can hurt Superman. Like no one just does this huge jumps of logic where they're like, well, he literally says therefore or whatever he says. Like
Also, we get Superman. He gets this message by dog whistle, I guess, on that frequency.
Only one person on the planet could be able to hear this.
Yes. Then he jumps out the window of the Daily Planet and transforms into his suit, Magic Girl style. So concerned for her mother in Hackensack, Testmatcher frees Superman, urging him to first stop the eastbound missile. Also,
sexually assaults him first.
Yes, sexually assaults him first.
Yep.
You know, but he seemed like he
wakes up and says, "Why did you kiss me? I will press charges." So
no, but then he touches her face, like, you know. After she asks, "Why do I always go for the bad guys?" You know,
yeah,
in my fully wet white outfit. Wow, very horny movie. He sends it to space, but misses the westbound missile, which triggers severe earthquakes in California, endangering landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge, and Hoover Dam.
I was like, have you seen Superman 2 or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously, the missile.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the setup for, yeah. But here's the thing, just quickly, so I don't have to mention it next week. And this is the other thing that there's like changes between. So when we watch Superman 2, and we're watching the normal cut. At the start of that, they have the movie start with Superman saving something again. I can't remember exactly what. And it's a missile. And he throws that missile up into the sky. And they have that being the one that actually breaks the Phantom Zone and kills General Zod. In the Richard Donner cut, it's this missile because that makes more sense.
Yes. Well, you don't know. Superman's just throwing so many missiles everywhere. Eventually you're going to hit something.
It's like non-trust of the audience to like tie something back to the first film. It's just
totally fair.
We have to show it right at the start. Like,
so apparently Lois is in California doing some interview about the land, right? Which does raise a question: where is Metropolis?
I mean, don't we always take Metropolis as New York City, right? Isn't that the
we assumed it's on the East Coast. So she's made her way all the way on the West Coast within a day.
Yeah.
You know, assuming that, well, it depends on. I will say it's crazy that one missile gets to New Jersey on one side of the country, and then the other missile goes all the way to the other side of the country in California. I don't know.
Similar to the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, he can move very fast when he needs to and not when he doesn't.
Yes, we'll get into that. Yes. Superman counteracts the devastation by mending the fault line. Going into the earth and
this is cool. I like the way this is filmed, Wes Anderson style.
Yeah, yeah. Superman's rescuing other people, including Jimmy Olsen. While this is happening, Lois is trapped in a car by an aftershock, suffocating before she can save her.
Brutal.
Distraught and enraged over his failure to save Lois, Superman disregards Jor-El's warning against altering history.
Sounds exactly like Darth Vader in this scene. No! As he flies up,
Heeding Jonathan's belief in his purpose, he flies around Earth, reversing time to prevent Lois's death and the missile's destruction. This is the ultimate moment of, modern day fans' disbelief, and a thing that has resulted in Superman kind of being treated as a joke in a lot of regards,
It's done. Also, the worst thing they do in the Richard Donner cut is in his original version, he does the exact same fucking thing at the end of Superman 2, and that isn't in the original cut. So,
I mean, if there was no ramifications, which there aren't any, Why wouldn't you just keep doing that?
It's true. I mean, it's a good point. In the sequel, he's like, you know what? It fixed my problems last time. I'm doing it again. It's like,
you know, I don't know what the issue is. Yeah, that's my biggest issue. It's like you got no ramifications for this, and you assume you had to go back and like redo all the things
it doesn't.
that
Yeah,
you did previously.
I've always been confused about exactly
how this time
it
works, travel works.
And I don't even care to try and understand.
Also, that's not how time works.
No, it's the worst thing in the movie. Is the rewinding the.
I do appreciate that he does need to re-speed up to the Earth rotation.
It's like it's literally like a ball he's spinning on his finger, and he has to
yeah. So you know, he saves Lois. She berates him for not coming sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And then just before it looks like they're about to make out, Jimmy Olsen comes out of nowhere.
Cock blocker.
Cock blocking
of the kryptonite kind, you know what
yeah.
I mean?
And then he's like, "Oh, too bad Clark missed this."
Mm.
I was like, "Wait, nah, can't be. That's a dumb idea." So yeah, Superman takes Luthor and Otis to jail.
In the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, at the start of that film, they have Lois already onto Clark because it's set up in this film. But in the normal Superman 2 version, which we're talking about next week, they fucking forget that she has this epiphany here, and they pretend she didn't have it, and then she has the same epiphany at the end of the movie. Just
yeah, he drops him off in prison, and like.
If I'm not bringing these complaints to this podcast, Ash, I don't know what I'm bringing. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's what this is for. I'll look forward to your many complaints next week. Yeah. He drops him off in prison. It's like, hey, prison warden, we're all in this together. That's in the movie.
I mean, technically, I don't think he can do that. Like, he's definitely broken laws by doing it. You can't hold someone like that.
Yeah, I mean, what are you charging him with?
Yeah, he's not a
You got any proof?
You know, like.
I mean, that's the whole question about vigilantes and superheroes in general.
Who watches The Watchmen? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Any other moments you want to point out? Key things? Anything to talk about? Any other complaints to make before we wrap up?
No, I'll save some for next week. Hey, we'll be here forever. No, I don't think so. I think I'd say that like the special effects in this movie are really good. Like if you place them within there, especially the flying stuff, I think is.
The flying all looks fantastic. Like obviously, Christopher Reeve was a pilot, and that's why he you know. I mean, that's the make or break thing in this movie. It's like flying, you'll believe a man can fly, you know.
Yeah. So I mean that's the tagline. So
yeah. All right, let us know what you thought or think of Superman the movie by finding us on Blue Sky at explosionerror.com or find us at other social media at ExplosionPod. If you want to help us out here at All New DC Cast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars, or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosionerror.com/supports. Thank you very much for listening. Next week we will be talking about Superman 2. So join us next time for another All New DC Cast.
I'll definitely mention the Donner cut, but we will not be talking about that film specifically.